Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic that is speculative. It's not necessarily based on research. I'm sure there is research, but this is just my perspective of what I see as a therapist, particularly when I'm seeing couples. We're going to talk about why so many marriages fail. Now, a comment I believe on my video, I can't remember which video it was, but it was kind of mentioning that marriages fail more often because of the rise of feminism. That was kind of the argument in the comments. And I wanted to explore that a little bit. Is feminism part of it? I don't think that's necessarily the only factor. I'm sure it's part of it, but I don't know how much of that dynamic plays a role. And while I think it does influence marriages, both good and bad, probably, I don't see that pattern strongly in therapy. But there are some patterns that I do see, which may be indirectly from feminism. I'm not sure, but that's what I want to talk about today. So, the very first aspect that I see about marriages, and I think what causes a lot of them to fail, these are some of the traits that I see with marriages that really they're not making much progress in therapy. And it doesn't mean that they won't survive, but it just means that it's either going to fail, it's failing, or it's incredibly dysfunctional, to which the individuals are both unhappy. And the first one is that if you're a person in a marriage, you believe that you know why your partner is doing or saying something instead of taking what they're saying literally, okay? And I know a lot of people do not necessarily speak literally, but I'm going to give an example to illustrate what I notice in therapy, and then you guys can go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's say a husband says, "I'm not mad, I'm just tired." Okay? So this is extremely common in couples therapy, where he's like in a mood and she's just not buying it or not accepting it, okay? And she might say, I know that you're mad. I can tell. Like, I know there's something on your mind. And he's like, "No, absolutely not. I am simply just tired." And she's having a really hard time accepting that. Why she's having a hard time accepting that? It might be because there's a part of her that's feeling anxious about something. Maybe she's upset about something. And this is something I've noticed as well. Often, a person might perceive the other person feeling the emotion they feel. So she might feel mad about something, and so she's assuming that he is mad also. And that gives her an opening or a gateway to talk about whatever she's upset about. But she doesn't want to communicate that directly. So there's a lot of indirect communication going on her side, which is why she's perceiving him on that side. But I'm not just picking on ladies here. I see it the other way as well. So let's give another example. Let's say we have a wife and she's saying, "I'm not trying to change you. All I genuinely want to hear is that at least you've heard my side, even if you don't agree with it. I'm just telling you what I notice or how I feel." And he thinks, "No, that's not true. You secretly want to change me." Or he might say, "No, all women are the same. You're just trying to, guilt me into getting married," even though she might have specifically said, "No, I'm not really interested in marriage, especially not at this time." And he's having a really hard time believing her. A lot of times why this stuff happens is because a lot of people have baggage. And that's just the truth of the matter. But when you bring that baggage into a marriage, it can really affect how you perceive your partner. Because very often, of course, we do see similar patterns in our relationships because of who we are. We get attracted or connected to very similar people. And so we tend to believe people are the same. However, there are times where those patterns break. And then what happens in the marriage is you believe that your husband or wife is similar to your mom, your dad, your siblings, your friends, your exes, without realizing that even if you're like the most social person ever, you do not have a large enough sample to say, "Hey, I'm positive that you feel this way. I have a lot of evidence. You are lying." Right? That's not going to happen. And so a lot of times people don't realize that that's how extreme it can really get. And it really breaks marriages apart. And I feel like that's a pretty simple fix if you just realize that your wife or your husband is not necessarily saying what you believe they're saying. They're saying exactly what they're telling you, okay? The next one is different values. I feel like this is very obvious, but I don't feel like this video would be accurate if I didn't put this in there, because obviously this is so common in couples therapy. Different values. So let's talk about it. So typically, what I see in a marriage, not all the time, I notice that the wife particularly, this is a little bit more gender correlated, she values solving what she thinks is an issue right away. So let's say she has an issue with, maybe he talks a little harsh to her, or she thinks that he's too blunt, something, just making something up, whatever. And he takes that as meaning he did something wrong. And he thinks all she does is focus on the negatives. And both sides have merit. Him talking harshly or bluntly, it probably hurts her feelings. And so, yeah, of course, she probably wants that fixed. But she assumes that it's never going to get fixed, or it means that he doesn't love her, or some assumption, which is why she wants it fixed right away. So there's that assumption, okay? But she also has a different value. She also believes somewhere that if this isn't fixed, the marriage will be, which marriage will fail, and it might. She might be right about that. And so what the husband is worried about in his value is that he believes if we keep focusing on what we don't do for each other, we're going to take each other for granted, or we're going to be miserable, and the marriage is going to fall apart. And he's right as well. So they're both right, and they both actually care about the marriage, but what they don't understand is they're butting heads. And so usually the way to resolve this, actually it seems very simple, but it can be very challenging within a marriage, is that what she can do is she can trust him a little bit more and look at the positives a little bit more. And for him, he can engage a little bit in what she's asking and saying without getting defensive, and trusting that she's not trying to correct him or hurt his feelings. It's because she loves him and wants attention from him. And she feels the safest when he's listening to her, like hearing her out, okay? And so he values peace. She values feeling safe and clarification. And both are perfect values in a marriage, but we need to balance those things so that you both are fighting for the marriage, but while fighting for the marriage, you're starting to butt heads, and that actually defeats the point. So that's the second one, okay? And what I think, another piece of the second one, because it is one of the most common ones, I think if you're a woman watching this, ladies, in general, it helps to always focus on being grateful for what you have as a partner. I notice a lot of women, they watch things on videos, or they ask each other about their boyfriends, and they like compare notes between boyfriends, right? Or husbands, or whoever. And I see this quite a lot. I see it within my own family on my mom's side. A lot of them are female. I have a lot of cousins that are actually ladies, and all of them do this. And I don't think it's healthy, because what happens is you start looking at what you don't have instead of what you do. And if I was a man and I was married to a lady who was doing that, I would feel incredibly insulted, right? So that's something to keep in mind. I know women don't mean to do that, but it really is very hurtful. So, and I know you don't mean it, but focusing on what he does provide and what he gives you can really work wonders in your marriage, and will make you happy, will make him happy, and he'll be more willing to give you what you're asking for, because he feels like he can do that for you, right? If you are always looking at what he's not doing, he's going to feel like, how can I ever make this, my wife happy? It's confusing. It's hard. Maybe I should just give up, right? He can feel that way. It's very hard, okay? And gentlemen watching, try and look at her request as her telling you that she wants to feel loved by you. And it's not about her thinking there's something wrong with you, but more that this is her particular way she feels loved. And by you doing that, she'll be more happy and more trusting and more safe with you, okay? And communicate if it's a little bit too much. There's always a balance, okay? The third one is grudges and holding on to conflict. I feel like this is really common in marriages and why marriages fail. When you have a disagreement with your partner, a lot of times it's not going to get resolved today. I have some couples, and I have one couple that have been together for like a very long time. And the reason they're in couples therapy is not even there's something wrong with their marriage. It's actually that, I'm not going to give the details, but sometimes I have couples that come in because their children, like an empty nest type of situation. Sometimes it can be like their adult child like went to jail, and it's like very traumatizing for them. And so the couple themselves, I see couples that are really successful too. Sometimes they come in to therapy because of a miscarriage. Sometimes it can be because they're having a little bit of trouble with maybe their son has a girlfriend and she's living with them, and they don't know how to communicate that, and they feel like it's affecting their marriage time. Whatever it is, they come into therapy for that. And what happens is those couples, I notice, the ones that are successful, Dr. Gottman calls them, I forgot what he calls them, the successful ones of marriage, the heroes of marriage. Oh God, I can't believe I forgot this because I love his research. Oh, I feel so bad that I don't remember it. The people who are successful with marriage, right? They tend to let go and not hold on grudges. And I notice that too when I'm practicing. However, the ones who are struggling to keep their marriage healthy and safe is they repeat arguments over and over and over again. They really hold on to it. The next one is saying things you don't mean when you're mad. People do that, and it's not healthy. And the last one is actually saying things that you feel are true only when you're mad. So it's the opposite. You only say the truth when you're mad. Both of these things can be very destabilizing, okay? We're going to summarize and then we're going to wrap it up. The first one is that you believe you know what your partner feels and what they're doing when they're literally telling you otherwise. The next one is different values. The third one is holding grudges and holding on to conflict. The fourth one is saying things you don't mean when you're mad. And the fifth one is only saying things, the truth, when you're mad. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.